Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything. The channel likes try anything, so you don't have to. Today's video we're going to be looking at a watch from the Casio collection that I've been after for a while, with this one being the Casio AE-1500WH, which in this instance has a module number of 3502. As has become tradition with the We Try Anything channel, we'll be looking around the Casio AE-1500WH, highlighting some of the materials used, the design of the watch, and mentioning some of the sizes along the way. We'll then go through some of the functions that this watch has to offer, pop it on our wrist and say what it's like to wear. There will be links to the instructions of this watch in the description box below, as well as an Amazon affiliate link if you wish to find out more about this watch. To start things off, the Casio AE-1500WH that I have featured here is brand new, which you can see with this cheeky little box that I've got going on here. Yes, you heard me, it is brand new, and for once it isn't an eBay purchase. Now the reason for it being brand new is the price that I managed to obtain this watch for, which was for the princely sum of £19. Now normally, as I've just mentioned, I tend to buy watches that I feature on the channel from eBay, as I like to show you how these watches have worn over time. But in the case of this Casio AE-1500WH, the prices that I've seen them at on eBay was a little more than I wanted to pay. But the other week, Argos, an online and bricks and mortar shop here in the UK, was running a little sale on some of these watches, with this being one of them. And at the time of recording this video, they are still at the price that I paid, which was around the £19 mark. Now I'm sure they will go back up to what it was I think £24–25 mark. But if you are in the market for one of these, then be quick, because I would imagine they are going to go back up to the normal price very soon. But for £19, I just had to jump at the chance. Now, the Casio AE-1500WH is featured in a few different colorways as what I'm showing here, and also screen types, with this one being the positive LCD version, but you can also get a negative displayed version, which I have to admit looks really nice. For reference, the blue one that I have here in this video is the Casio AE-1500WH 2A VEF. So with all that out the way, let's take a closer look at the Casio AE-1500 that we have featured here. First of all, let's talk about the size of this watch, so you can see if this watch is right for you and your wrist. This watch is big even by Casio standards, with the width of the case being a colossal 50mm wide from the left hand side of the case to the right hand side. And if you compare it to a watch that I'm currently wearing, which is a Casio F105W, you can see there is quite a size difference to these watches. Now normally I would measure from the left hand pushers to the right hand, but in this case the case extrudes out further than the pushers. But mentioning the pushers, you do get 4 very nice polished metal pushers, which are 2 on the left and 2 on the right, which I feel do add to the look of the watch. Look to look, or top to bottom, you are looking at 54mm, which again is on the large side compared to a lot of watches that I feature on the channel. And I've got to say, you can tell it's a large watch because I've got to try and adjust how I feature this watch on the video, so it's by no means, it is quite a big watch. Depth wise, you are looking at around 16mm, which is quite chunky, or what I would say is like a chunky watch, and that is from the case back to the extruded elements on the front of the case. So it may be a little bit too cumbersome for some people, but I do think it does add to the overall rugged nature of this watch. Materials wise, the case is made up of a nice blue plastic resin, but interestingly it's blue towards the front part of the case, and you have black towards the bottom, which I do like on this watch. And obviously it does kind of poke out next to where the strap attaches to the watch, and also you can see it evident on the pushers as well. So it's a nice little feature to this watch, but they are plastic in the makeup of the watch, and yeah, I mean, it will be prone to some scratches, but as you can see here, this watch is brand new, so it looks really good on this video, I've got to admit. Now the inner lug width, moving on to that, inner lug width, so that's the inside of where the watch attaches to the case, you are looking at approximately 18mm wide. And talking of the straps, they're made up of the usual resin, as you can see here, with a single rib on each side in this example. They are fairly supple, quite thick, and don't feel cheap, which I have to admit is very nice for a watch in this price range. And they do have raised elements to the reverse of the strap, which I would imagine allow for the strap to affix to your wrist very well. Now, I'm not sure how these will wear over time, as this watch was bought brand new, but as it is a lighter colour, I am sure that this will probably attract some marks, so just bear that in mind if you are looking for a watch of this colouring. The strap stay or retainer is the same blue as you can see here, and the plastic pin and buckle, which is a matte black plastic here, which I do believe goes very nice with the rest of the watch. Now, moving on to the back of the Casio AE-1500WH, this has a very substantial stainless steel case to it, which is affixed to the watch with 4 small Phillips style screws, as you can see, to the top and bottom. This allows for easy access to the module if you need to change the battery, which you wouldn't need to do it anytime soon, as the battery can last up to 10 years, which is advertised towards the bottom of the watch. Now, this watch also has water resistance, which is again emblazoned on the back. It is water resistant to 10 bar, or what would be 100 meters. Now, this watch also features a quartz powered module, which has an accuracy of 30 seconds per month, and obviously is powered by that 10-year from new battery. Now, looking at the front of the watch, you have to agree with me, it is very distinctive indeed. The dial window is a flat acrylic resin crystal, which I need to mention here will be prone to some form of scratching, and in the case of this watch, my assumption will be that as it has a larger surface area, it may be more prone to scratches than other watches, just simply down to the area that is on the front of this watch and the size. Really, you've got more chance of probably scratching it on something than you would do obviously with something of this size. But saying that, that has attracted some scratches over time, I can tell you. Now, the front of the actual front of the case has that whiff of G-Shock about it, and to me, I just love how rugged this watch looks. There are some decals to the top and to the bottom, as you can see here, and I do have to admit that sometimes I wonder why Casio feels the need to add these decals. I understand the need for mentioning what the pushes do, as you can see, to the top left, top right, bottom left. But why, I just don't understand why feel the need to add illuminator and advertise the fact that it's got a 10-year battery. I mean, again, if they did remove them, you know, it wouldn't be very Casio of them, but it's just something I've always wondered why they seem to have the need to add to these decals. I mean, they do add to the sporty nature of this watch, but again, sometimes I always wonder how these would look without these decals top and bottom. Now, moving on to that display, and let's just take a few seconds of silence just to take stock of the display that is on this watch. I love how pure and simple it is. It's so large and legible that for someone like me who is advancing in age and whose eyesight is slowly deteriorating, there is no mistaking the fact that you can easily tell the time with this watch. The typeface used for the time that sits front and center of this watch is so big and clear that it just stands out from other digital watches that I've reviewed on the channel. It's clear of any real design disruption, and the information is just super accessible with the date at the top, the seconds at the bottom, and just the, as I've mentioned, the time just sitting right smack bang in the middle of the display. There's even a nice amount of animation to the dial, with the seconds indicator to the right just almost falling down the watch. It's just such a nice display that this watch has got. And obviously, as you go through some of the modes, which I shall talk about very soon, that legibility just follows through the rest of the watch. Now, as much as I love the display on this watch, and I really do, it's the one thing about this watch that it's made me keep my eye on this watch for quite a while. It does have one shortfall to this watch, and that is the ghosting effect that you do get on this watch. Now, say for example you're in a meeting and you wanted to just quickly glean the time off it, and your watch was like down at an angle. That's the effect that you get, which is like you start to see all the elements that the digital display has. Now, again, for some people it may be a deal breaker, and that's why I thought I'd mention it. And for me, it isn't, because I mean, this watch is unique in the way it looks. It's just it's rugged, and that display is just super clear. But again, ghosting, it does have that element of ghosting, which, as I say, for some people it may put them off the watch. But again, that's why I thought I'd mention it. But other than that, you know, this display is it's without without exception just absolutely stunning. Now, the final thing to mention about the display is its backlit illumination, which is activated by pressing the top right hand button here, the light button. Now, as you probably would imagine with a display this size, it does need them two orange LEDs which are towards the base of the dial. And as you can see, I mean, it's obviously there, it's illuminated, and I'm just quickly showing you to the right how this looks in darkness and semi-darkness, and it does illuminate the display really well. And the one thing you've just got to mention that I've got to mention is that the camera does tend to make the display look a little bit brighter than it is in real life, but it is really good. And especially if you want to just quickly get an idea of the time during the small hours of the morning or in darkness and semi-darkness, then this display does work really well. And also, just one other thing to mention about the light is when you do press that button at the top right hand corner, I think you get like a couple of 1.5 to 2 second delay with the illumination being activated, and that's a really nice touch because it doesn't mean you have to keep your finger on the light button like you do, say for example with the Casio F105, which you can see here. I have to, as soon as I let go of that button, it just stops illuminating. But with this watch, it does illuminate for a good couple of seconds, which is really good. And as I say, it's just one of these, you just press it, a couple of seconds, you can read the time. The other thing to mention, obviously, which I haven't gone on about too much, is the inner bezel to this watch. You have got where it indicates the alarms, which I'll quickly show you later. Obviously the water resistance, and that it's an alarm chronograph. But I think that the black inner bezel and blue, they really do complement each other really well. And obviously with the black bezel, and you've got the black bottom part of the case and the black pin and buckle, it's a colour combination that I think, and obviously on the pushers there, it's a colour combination that I think works really well for the overall aesthetic of the Casio AE-1500WH. Now, moving on from how the Casio AE-1500WH looks, let's talk about some of the module features that are built into this watch. Now, first of all, there are small features that I'm going to quickly mention. This watch can easily display what would be 12 and 24 hours. So obviously I'm just pressing the start button at the bottom. It is currently 12, and if it is after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it will start featuring it as 1300 hours, and it is very easy, as you can see, to activate. It also features an automatic calendar, which once set by the wearer will always display the correct time up to 2099, which is a phenomenal feature on this watch. Now, just moving along, if I just press the mode button, as you can see, clear as day, here's the alarm. This watch features 5 multifunction alarms, including a snooze option for the first alarm. Now, I can just activate the alarm quickly by pressing the adjust button to the top, and as you can see which alarm is activated by the little, what you can see, the little LCD box down the bottom. And as you can see, there's alarm 2, alarm 3, alarm 4 and alarm 5, and again you got the snooze option for alarm 1, and then you can just quickly turn it off. But this watch, you can also set it for a specific day, I think, and obviously a day within the month, etc. So there's a lot more features to this watch going on. And if you want to find out a little bit more about this watch, there is instructions I've linked to in the description box below, and also I will be producing a tutorial video about this watch very soon. But as I say, it's got 5 multifunction alarms. It also features an hourly time signal. Now, what I will do, I'll just move my microphone towards the watch, and then you can hear the alarm as I'm doing a test alarm. And that is how the alarm sounds on this watch. So it's very easy to just quickly test by pressing the start button. And obviously, let me just quickly go back to alarm 1. As you can see, it's got the 5 independent alarms, the hourly signal, and just back to alarm 1. Now, this watch also features a timer. Now, this timer, if I just start it, it will go down from what would be, it will count down in units of a second from 24 hours. And as I say, the time setting range that you can set this watch up to will be ranging from a minute all the way up to 24 hours. And it also features a handy auto repeat function as well. So once the timer has counted down to 0, it will start again if you've got that auto repeat feature turned on. Now, the next feature that this watch also has, it has a fully functioning, easy to read stopwatch that you can glean an elapsed time at a glance. Now, its measuring unit is 100th of a second. Its measuring capacity goes up to 24 hours, and this will measure what would be an elapsed time, let me just double check, a split time, and it also will indicate first and second place times, which again is something I'll show you how to do on the tutorial video coming soon. So I'll just stop that and then reset it. It's as easily done as that. And then finally, this watch also features what is known as dual time. Now you can set it to feature another time around the world, which is ideal for world travelers or people who are communicating with business associates or loved ones who are situated in different parts of the world, who have different times to the one that you are currently residing in. And there again, it's all displayed very clearly with what the mode is, the time, and obviously the seconds. And obviously Casio does like to feature, again, that it's got 5 alarms, the water resistance, etc. on this display. So again, this watch is just packed full of features, very simple to operate. And also it's just so clear in getting that information from that watch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it on my wrist and say what it's like to wear. Right, here it is on my 6.5-inch wrist, and there's no getting away from the fact that it is a big watch. I mean, I've had to adjust the way my camera is from the actual backdrop that I've got featured behind this watch on my wrist, and it just proves that this watch is big. Now don't get me wrong, I mean I have a 6.5-inch wrist, and it probably is a little bit too big on my wrist, but I don't mind it really. And I've worn this for a couple of days, and yes, even though it's a little bit chunky or a little bit chunky, and these extremes, you do feel it on your wrist here, and I've got it a little bit loose than I normally have my watches, so it's just not, it's a little bit more up my wrist, and yeah, you do feel that it is there on your wrist, but again, it's something you get used to. And also the weight, which I haven't mentioned in the video so far, it is 57 grams or around that mark. And again, you do know it's on your wrist, and it's probably towards the more heavier end of watches that I have featured from Casio. But again, it's something you get used to over time. Now the strap, mentioning the strap, it is nice and it is comfortable to wear as well, and I find that the ribbon doesn't dig into your wrist like it does on some Casios that I have featured. And the other thing to add with this strap is that there is a lot of room for maneuver really. There's a lot of holes on this strap, and I would say would suit people with larger wrists, so it's just something nice to add to the actual strap setup of this watch. And the final thing to add as well with this strap is that, let me just get the strap staying, or the strap retainer in situ. It doesn't come over the watch really. Like I have featured some Casios where the end of the strap pokes over the actual case of the watch, and I really don't like that, but in this instance it's nice and tucked away out the way, and I do think that's a really nice feature of this watch. But for me, and hopefully for you, it is that display. That display is so easy to read the time off. And yes, it is large, but for me, I love how it stands out on the wrist without looking too ridiculous, really. Now, you may have a different opinion on that, but I do think that the colouring of this watch does mute how big it really is. Now, as I've mentioned, obviously if you turn the display, there is an extreme amount of ghosting that goes on with this watch, but again, it's only just a few degrees and then you're back to being able to read the time super easy. But overall, I just love how it reads and how the display adds to the overall sporty nature and the rugged look that this watch has. Now, my final thoughts, I'll kind of end this video quite soon really, because I probably have gone on a little. Now my final thoughts are, I feel that the Casio AE-1500WH is one of those watches that stand out from the crowd, and you probably find that people probably can read the time from the other side of the room if you have this watch on display on your wrist. If your eyesight isn't that perfect and you find that you are struggling to read the time on your current watch, then maybe give the Casio AE-1500WH a try, because I just think it's a no-brainer. If like me, your eyesight's starting to deteriorate and you need a timepiece with a bigger display. Now yes, you may find it a little bit cumbersome if you're wearing a long sleeve top, jumper or hoodie, as I would imagine that it may get in the way a little, but there's no mistaking that with the features that it has, the way that it looks and the display, it gets a massive thumbs up from me. Also, if you can get this watch at the price I paid, which is about £19 from Argos, and it is available on Amazon, probably a bit more than what I've just mentioned, but you can get it on Amazon, then I don't know why you're still watching this video, as you should literally go out and get yours today and add it to your collection. So I hope you liked this video of the Casio AE-1500WH, and if you did, then please give it a thumbs up. It always helps the channel. If you want to see more watches coming from the We Try Anything channel, including a tutorial of this Casio coming very soon, then please click on the subscription button below. And thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.